Welcome to the Sleuth Intuition YouTube channel. Sit back, relax and chillax for a few.
Just take it easy, man.
You know, that's your answer for everything, dude.
Now just go, oh. What? Do it, man. Oh. 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 Shit.
Don't be a scrub.
No scrubs.
Hit the thumbs up. Welcome to the Sleuth Intuition YouTube channel. Sit back, relax and chillax for a few.
Just take it easy, man.
You know, that's your answer for everything, dude.
Now just go, oh. What? Do it, man. Oh. 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 Shit.
What is up?
So I figured today we would do a live stream and just kind of open it up to really anything. One of the things I wanted to talk about was, and I hope I'm saying this right, hybristophilia. Hope everybody's doing okay. I'm having a great day. Just got done reading an article from Rolling Stone. And it's basically all these serial killers who were allowed to marry while serving their sentences. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Thanks for joining this live stream. So this was by Dan Epstein, Rolling Stone magazine. I believe this young lady's name is Elaine Starr Burton, and you all know who this person is standing to her left. So I just wanted to start out with this it's like little two paragraphs. He starts out by saying, when the news got out last week that 80-year-old convicted murderer Charles Manson of Afton Elaine Starr Burton, the 26-year-old woman who runs his social media sites, had been granted a marriage license by the state of California. It caused a considerable uproar, especially among lonely singles who lamented their own inability to find love, while old Charlie somehow got engaged without ever leaving the confine of the Corcoran State Prison. But as the saying goes, it's not you, it's them. While killing someone isn't a recommended way to attract a mate, it certainly does seem to work for some folks. Hybristophilia, the condition of being turned on by someone who commits a violent crime, has often been cited by psychologists as an explanation for why some women and men willingly marry jailbirds. If Manson does get hitched while rotting in prison, he certainly won't be the first convicted murderer to do so. Wow. So that's an interesting word. Purdue, I have no clue. I'm totally out of the loop on that one. I'm just as curious as everybody else. No, some rumblings. I know there was some work on Freedom of Information Act and some requests that were made recently. So I don't know if it has to do with that. And here we have some of Ted Bundy's groupies. What up? Wow. Still 2036. Yeah, that's awful. Yeah, that article's pretty old. Yeah, because I seen something. I'm not sure if Marv and Frank shared their information with Sonny, but I know that they have a live stream that's scheduled tonight, and then right shortly after or during towards the end, I think Sonny pops on. So I don't know if both their shows are going to talk about the same thing. I don't know. Thank you, D.
Trial of Theodore Bundy goes into its fourth week in Miami today after a long weekend. Friday's session was delayed because the defendant was suffering from a virus. He's accused in the brutal slayings of two Florida State University sorority sisters in January 1978. His trial has attracted a steady and unusual stream of spectators. Robin Lloyd of station WTVJ reports.
Each day, the courtroom is filled with spectators drawn by a fascination with Theodore Bundy himself or by the gruesome details of the crimes. Blood-stained pillows, pictures of the murdered co-eds, evidence that the women were sexually abused. What is unusual to see is that many of the onlookers are women, young women, contemporaries of the 5 Florida State sorority sisters who were assaulted in their beds a year and a half ago.
Every time he turns around, I kind of get that feeling, oh no, he's gonna get me next.
But yet you're fascinated by him.
Very, very. Every night when I go to bed, I just, I get very scared. I shut my door and lock him,
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody. You try to imagine yourself in his place and to see how he's feeling looking at the pillows with blood stains and everything, if he really did it or not.
The trial has drawn women from as far away as Seattle, where Bundy is suspected of other sex murders. Why is this happening? According to one psychiatrist, it is a mixture of fear, intrigue, and in particular, sexual attraction.
And so, yes, I do think this is, in an underlying sense, a sexual attraction, using that word very broadly for the moment. But there is no question but what violence does quicken the pulse of many people, and certainly of young women.
The young women themselves aren't too sure what it is that attracts them to the trial. Are you a little scared when you look at him?
Yes, it scares me to be in the same room with him, but I know there's other people in there, so.
Why do you do it?
I don't know.
Robin Lloyd for CBS News, Miami.
Yeah, so strange. Even this lady, what was her name? Karen Rasmussen. So she had a thing for Jeffrey Dahmer. Look at the headline there. Milwaukee cannibal is the man of my dreams, says Beauty. With a little love and affection, he could be a wonderful guy. Honestly, I don't think he's into girls. That's just my opinion. Nice. Lucky. I think so too. Well, the thing is, when charges get filed, it's public information. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he was gay. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure because he targeted men at I believe at gay bars in his local area. That's creepy.
This woman, who gave her name only as Paige, calls herself a Satanist. She says Ramirez has written letters to her and that she's talked with him in jail.
Everyone makes him look so bad, you know, but I know that he's a nice person because I've met him, and I know.
He's convicted of 13 murders.
I know. But he's really a nice guy.
It's very out of the usual. It's very out of the norm to be able to do that for a certain amount of time and length, a period of time, and get away with it. Especially the outrageousness of it, the kind of murders that he did.
When I went to go visit him, I asked him, you know, I said, how many other girls visit you? I want to know. And he kind of laughed and said, there's 2, but I already know them, and I've known them for a while, and they're just like acquaintances, and kind of. You know, make me think that and believe like I was like the only one that he liked that was visiting him.
Their attraction may be difficult to explain, but from Los Angeles to San Francisco, they stalk Ramirez.
Right? Man of my nightmares.
People who are going to think you're crazy for this.
I'll just say.
Well, do you think she just thinks it's funny? Like she's just super gothic, or like what do you think's going on with her? She seems kind of scary, like they both do. They both talk about how like they find it attractive that he was like able to get away with it.
That they just don't understand.
In San Francisco, Chuck Coppola.
All right, I posted the link if anybody wants to join me live. Once you hit the link, basically it brings you onto my platform that I'm using, StreamYard. You can enter whatever name you would like. You can choose to be on camera or off camera. And basically you can even share information on your end, and I can allow it to be brought up to the screen. So yeah, I mean, Sharon Parker says men in prison just want money and commissary. Yeah, I mean, we get what the men are, you know, but why are these women attracted to them? It looks like we have somebody calling in. Give me one moment. Yes, is this Brian James?
Yeah, man, what's going on?
How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Still recuperating from the other night.
Nice. What can I do for you?
Well, I noticed you said something about some possible new information coming out. I didn't know if you knew anything in regards to that or.
No, I'm clueless.
I was also wondering if you have kind of what your opinion was on the Evansdale and Delphi, you know, if you thought they were related, or I've noticed quite a few similarities, but I mean, a lot of that's kind of circumstantial, but.
Yeah, there's some strange coincidences. They're not very far away. There could be some people that law enforcement are looking at that might be connected. There could be some things we don't know about, but
Right.
I'm saying it's possible. Yeah.
Well, and I've been listening to some different people, and they're saying, well, it's 6 hours. Well, 6 hours for 5 years, that's really not that, you know, it's not really.
What do you mean 6 hours for 5 years?
Well, I mean, weren't the murders 5 years apart, or 10 years,
Yeah.
or 5 years? Wasn't it?
Yeah, 5, I believe.
I mean, 6 hours could make a difference if they were done in the same day, but if you're talking about 5 years apart, you know, you can't really. I don't know if you could look at that as a factor.
Well, think about it. How long do you think it takes for the dust to settle?
Very true. What do you think the
You
number
know?
13 means?
The number what?
13. A lot of people think they're, you know, about because they were both killed on the 13th.
Yeah, and it's in a very occultic number. So if you're trying to look through the eyes of a killer who might be motivated by, you know, something occult related, because we hear things like non-secular, just stuff like that. If it's occult related and they're both kind of have symbolism, and we know in the past serial killers have used stuff like that, so we kind of look at it from that perspective.
Right. I just didn't know if 13 had like a certain meaning in like a cult way. I mean, does it have something to do with, you know, or whatever? But
I'm sure it does.
I mean, or this person, every time he kills, could be on the 13th and he's never been caught. So maybe that's his lucky. I mean, I guess it could be anything, huh?
Well, if it's some type of satanic or ritualistic, it could be like an offering even, you know?
Right. I mean, because you can find anything on Google. When I Googled it, it said that it's a lot about, you know, the devil and death. And I found that interesting. I mean, 13 could, I guess, feasibly mean anything really. But
Yeah, we don't know what people like Keegan Kline and all those groups of people that have been mentioned. We don't know what they're really like behind the scenes. You know, we don't know what they were doing and keeping it secret. You know, we don't know.
have you done a lot of research on the Evansdale?
Yeah, I've done enough to know to keep up probably with what you're going to ask, I think.
Well, I was just kind of curious. I was thinking about something. Now, their bodies were found on like a game preserve where you can hunt and fish and stuff. Is that correct? Or
I believe it was the Seven Bridges.
Okay. I know in Arkansas, and I wanted to kind of get your opinion on this. I didn't know, but I know in Arkansas on management areas and stuff like that, where you can, that's kind of public hunting land. A lot of places you have to have permits to hunt those areas, and law enforcement. Just a little bit of research. I don't know a whole lot about it, but just a little bit of research I was doing, saying that people could hunt and fish there in these places where the bodies were found, and I was just kind of curious on if this place had to have permits, and like possibly whose land adjoins to that. I believe it was 166 acres is what I found that place was.
Yeah, it's pretty big, and that's a good question. But they really didn't start enforcing that stuff until I think a little bit later, if I'm not mistaken. At least in my state.
I'd also be curious as who like grades the roads in those places, and if a tree falls across the trail, like on the Delphi trails, like who goes out there and takes care of that? You know what I mean? Just some food for thought. May not mean anything, but
you're talking like a random worker theory.
Well, I mean, I don't really necessarily have a theory. I was just kind of curious if, in those two areas, like who maintains those trails. And when I say maintain, like as far as that game preserve, somebody's got to grade those roads when they wash out, or if a culvert washes out, like who's in charge of that?
Well, when it comes to Evansdale, the way I look at it is if Evansdale and Delphi are connected, I think Evansdale would have been his first time, and he would have been way too close to home. So I think he lives there near Waterloo or in Waterloo. and said, you know what, I need to be a little more random. And if he's involved in Delphi, he could be using people such as Keegan Klein or somebody connected to Ron Logan. You don't know how these people communicate. It could be somebody like that venturing out further, so it's much more random, and he doesn't draw as much attention to himself. And 5 years would be a perfect amount of time to wait, to do your next, whatever it is, ritualistic, whatever it is that's going on, whatever motivates somebody to do killing like that. Because at that point, it's serial. You know what I mean?
So you're talking about the possibility of someone catfishing a catfish,
or just having a relationship behind the scenes. Could be connected through the CSAM. People could actually be buying targets. I mean, we don't know. I don't think these states have the funding to even do that kind of investigation. That's like FBI, like deep cover, and people would kind of see it coming. You know what I mean?
Right. I just know the other night we talked about a lot of theories, and I got to thinking about like who's in charge of maintaining these places. Somebody that would be extremely familiar with the area. That's just not just a regular citizen. I mean, could mean nothing. It's just a thought that I had.
If anything, it was somebody that's been hunting there prior.
I mean, yeah, and nobody wants to believe any kind of law enforcement is involved, but if you're going to say nothing's off the table, then that's kind of what that has to mean. Game wardens,
especially the delay. When you see a delay in these crimes, they're connected in that way as well. There's a delay in justice. So when you have that delay in justice and you look around and you're seeing all these other crimes that are solved quickly, you're like, these seem to be similar. Why are they being solved so quickly? Then your brain automatically says, well, okay, somebody's got their hand in the cookie jar. You know what I mean?
Right. I was just trying to think of somebody, other than hunters that would be out there, that could would be familiar with that area. And I was also wondering if there was any shutdowns between the two places, railroad jobs that would cause someone to move.
Well, another question is, what's on the other end of that road? Where does that road go? Who takes that road?
Right.
Who frequents that road?
Like I said, I haven't got to do a whole lot of research on the Evansdale. I've just known here lately a lot of people are believing there's some, and it's quite possible that there's a maniac in Indiana and one in Iowa. I mean, so.
Well, I mean, think about it. If you are a catfish, let's say you are law enforcement, and maybe that's why you let somebody like a Keegan Klein go free. You're kind of using him to sell targets or do some type of corruption. But that's all like a Hollywood production that goes on in your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Although it would be pretty genius if somebody knew that Keegan was talking to these girls, if he, because in his mind, he's like, well, if I go do this, all roads are going to point to Keegan.
And right now, I still think that could be a good possibility, because we keep hearing all this talk about Keegan Klein and Tony Klein. So if we're going to have that talk, we automatically need to talk about the DNA. You know what I mean?
Right.
Then if we can't get past that conversation, then we can't keep talking about it. Or we got to keep talking about it and talk about other stuff too.
What do you mean about the DNA?
Because they took both of their DNAs.
Right.
If they have DNA that belongs to the killer, then they would know that those two were the killer.
Right. Do you know like how much DNA they would have to have for a positive match on somebody?
I think I don't know. It might even be more than, I think 10 points. I'm not sure. I'm not the person to ask.
I was just curious about that because I've heard a lot of people say you have to have a certain amount to get a positive match on an individual. Like if you take someone's DNA and you have this DNA from the crime scene, you've got to have so much to be able to match that. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't know how much you really needed.
Yeah, I just don't see. I don't see a huge case on Tony Klein. I'm not seeing it.
I think the main reason, because at the time they were living together. Is that correct? Or
yeah, they were living together.
And I believe I read something about the wording that was used. They found differences.
Well, see, at some point, I'm not sure if they were living together because at some point he was living at his friend's house right up the street, who used to be his neighbor. So he was actually living in that dude's basement right around this time also.
Right. I was just curious about that because I'd heard they were living together at the time, and then I heard about the friends and stuff, and I just kind of wanted to see actually was he living there with him at the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure even if he wasn't living there, he was there constantly.
Right. So you don't. I've often wondered, what if Keegan doesn't know? Like say, what if somebody's using him as kind of the fall guy?
Well, what'd you think about that theory? Like somebody in the same room as Keegan, and they mentioned, the girl's name, and he says, "Oh, this girl," and he's like, "Yeah, I've been catfishing her or whatever," and then they're like, "Oh, give me access to that."
The more I think about it, it would be genius, and I hate to say that because 2 little girls got murdered, but it would be genius on the killer's behalf because, like I said, he can, if he overheard about Keegan talking to these girls, he figures out where they're going to be. He can go there. He kills them. All roads point back to Keegan. You know what I'm saying? And
well, that's a great theory because I do subscribe to that. But the only thing is that Keegan is aware. At certain points, he admits to talking and knowing her. You know what I mean? So if he's trying to meet her there, if that scenario is correct, it would almost be like 2 separate conversations, which there is. You remember how law enforcement keeps saying that? It's like there's 2 of you.
Yeah.
So,
well, what do you think about the possibility of somebody possibly getting this Anthony Shots account information, finding out where the girls are going to be? Now, they don't know who this second person is, but they trace, they find out that Keegan is the creator of this account. So now they've got to trace from Keegan to whoever this individual is.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm just going one step more and saying that they would have to actually have access to that account, using it simultaneously with Keegan Klein, because they would know if there was a separate version of the Anthony Shots created, unless there was, and they're not letting us know that. So in order for them to use the same account and not create another one, which would look pretty obvious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they would both have to be using that same account. So how did they get access to that account?
When we were talking the other night, didn't you say that people can like clone phones or whatever?
I know it's possible, but I mean,
I can't remember if that was you, Daniel, that said something about people can clone phones and see exactly what you're doing.
Well, we brought it up a few times and we looked into it, but it's just not that common.
Right. I didn't know that. That was the first time I'd ever heard about that. I mean, I know these hackers and scammers and stuff like that. I mean, I know they.
No, this is what they do. You hit the nail on the head earlier. Is the catfishing? Keegan could have been catfished, because think about it. If he's telling another pedophile that is some type of serial killer who is using him in the same way that he's using these girls, and he's seeking information on how to gain access to the account that he used to possibly get the pornography that he sent this person, he's like, you know what? I don't need to pay for this. I'll just catfish this doofus over here, take complete control over his account, And I might even go a step further.
Right. Yeah. I agree with that. The more I think about it, the more it doesn't seem that far fetched, does it?
No, not if you're sitting there and your motivation is to get it done. I mean, what's the difference between a serial killer, like BTK, who got away with it his whole life, completely motivated by his killing? Like, it's something he couldn't stop doing, and he did not want to get caught. He wanted to do. He wanted his cake, and he wanted to eat it too, and he did for a long time. So it took a lot of time for him to think about it, but he was so, I guess, egotistical. He started like sending the clues and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But some killers say they send all these clues and they go unnoticed. So I don't know if this killer might be doing the same thing and we're not picking up on it. I'm not sure.
And you know, I was thinking about something, and like I said, this is just my opinion, but this person or persons or whatever, these two girls were killed. Searchers found the bodies, correct?
Yes, this is the story. So this is the way Kelsey tells it. She went to the bridge, the southeast end, twice. Went back to work, came back, went and checked it. They found nothing down there. They searched all down there, even by the creek, by the trees, under the bridge, and then on her way back up, somebody that was still searching down there found a shoe. So I think the shoe was in the mud, and from the shoe there was footprints leading in the water, and then on the opposite side of the water there's footprints going up the edge of the bank. So the guy said, "Oh shit," you know, and he looked, and I guess he couldn't get a good view, and he took his cell phone and tried to zoom in with it and saw the deer. This is her story. Saw the deer, and when he moved the phone away, that's when he could see that there was two girls there.
Well, something I was thinking about, you know, not only was this a public hiking trail and this is not a very big area at all, you know, this person, you know, sometimes when people are murdered, their bodies are dumped places, they're buried, or, you know, whatever. This person did this on a public hiking trail, broad daylight, and I'm just going to assume that the bodies weren't buried. He wanted those bodies to be found. You know, that there's no possible way really that eventually these bodies weren't going to be found. You know, so it's almost like he wanted the attention. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, I would really want to know the extent of the staging. Like, we don't need to know the details.
Right.
I just need to know more about it. Like, can you explain the whole non-secular? Like, they took that off all of the news outlets. I think IndyStar was the first one to put that out there. Now it's gone. It's like, what the hell?
And I often wonder about the signatures. You know, he said, you know, it's kind of, and I heard somebody, and I can't remember their name, I'm not trying to steal their idea, but somebody in a live the other night was talking about, if it's a signature, wouldn't it have had to happen before?
No, that's MO.
I mean,
that's the modus operandi, the mode in which they did it. You know, it might get better and it might evolve, but you know, they're still slashing people up.
They haven't released anything on the Evansdale, have they, about the crime scene or any of that?
No, they haven't even told the family if they were assaulted or not.
But they were found. They were out there a few more days. How long was it before they were found after they went missing?
I think it might have been like, I want to say 5 weeks, maybe.
Yeah, so they were out there for a minute.
I could be wrong. It could have been longer.
Right. I mean, in that period of time, I mean, you could probably potentially lose a lot of evidence, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, the kind of weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they hate these kind of crimes being outdoors. So I wonder if the person who committed the crimes knew that, because nature and DNA, automatically are at odds.
Yeah, time would not be your friend on that deal.
Mm-mm.
Hmm. You think the only reason they looked at Tony Klein is because they were at the same house? Or do you think there's a bit more to that?
Well, I think they're looking at everybody. I mean, if you read that transcript, the information points at him. The same way bodies being found on Ron Logan's property pointed at him. But it turned out that it wasn't him. So the same way the new information is pointing at him, what's everybody going to say when it turns out not to be him?
Yeah. I guess the biggest thing, and I was reading over it the other night a little bit, and it said like the creating an alibi, or what did it say, a false alibi before the bodies were discovered?
Yeah, well, are you speaking in regards to Keegan Klein's alibi with the whole Country Club Road and all, him searching for porn and all that stuff, logged into the Wi-Fi, that stuff?
No, I was talking about Ron Logan, because in that whatchamacallit, it said that he created this, the bodies hadn't even been discovered yet when he made that phone call for his alibi. Do you know what part I'm talking about?
Yeah, in his probable cause affidavit.
Right. That's really the only thing that I found pretty interesting as far as Ron Logan's concerned. But I never really did think he was involved in the murders, because I mean, that would be pretty dumb to murder people on your own property. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me ask you this. Let's say it was Ron Logan. Here, this is a conspiracy theory out of nowhere. Okay, let's say Ron Logan is the killer, right?
Yeah.
Let's say he's responsible for Evansdale.
Okay.
And he knows that he's only got a few more years to live, and he's like, I want to go out with a bang, because if you listen to him, whenever he's done any of his interviews, he's like, can you believe it? 2 bodies found on my property. And this has never happened ever in the history of Carroll County. Can you believe it? He seems kind of like proud of it.
What kind of vehicles did he own? Do you know?
F-250 heavy duty.
Yeah.
They took that away.
I know in the Evansdale, there was a witness reported like a white Bronco box style SUV, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I mean, I don't know if he had anything like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a ridiculous theory. But I'm just saying.
I've often thought about that, but when people first started pointing the finger at Ron Logan, I was like, man, how stupid would that be, though, to kill him and leave him right there on your own property? You know what I'm saying? That you're the first person they're going to look at.
Yeah, and that's what got me thinking. And I asked myself that question: what would make somebody that stupid? But it wasn't until he passed away that I thought maybe he knew he didn't have that many years left.
Maybe he wasn't that worried about going to jail. Maybe he thought, if I go to jail, doesn't live my life anyway. I mean, it's a possible theory. I get what you're saying, though. I mean, it's out there a little bit, but possible.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try to get into that mindset. Like, I mean, you can't just sit there in your own normal head. Your normal head isn't going around trying to kill children. You got to try to slither out of that and figure out what the hell these guys were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you stay inside the box, this person, whoever did this, whoever's responsible, is not inside the box to begin with.
He's nowhere near that. What he's doing is he's tying a rope around your box, and he's pouring gasoline in there, and he's trying to figure out a way to light your ass on fire.
To keep you from getting outside the box, yeah.
Or no, that's just what he does. He's going to watch it burn.
Yeah, there's really no telling. And even if we did know the reason why this would happen, we wouldn't understand it still. I mean, but
we just try. I mean, we do our best to try.
Right. I'm just kind of curious about that. I mean, I know there's a I'm not going to say names, but I know there is a POI that a lot of people talk about that they say was in the general vicinity of Evansdale and Delphi when it happened. So I thought that was kind of.
Who's that?
PB.
Oh,
People
that
say he
guy?
was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know much about him, his connection to Evansdale. But yeah, I mean, he's kind of Occam's razorous, if that's a word.
I've seen people actually do side by sides with him in a hat, and it looks similar. You know, I'm not gonna point the finger at anybody, and because that's not. I mean, that's circumstantial at best. You know, there's no concrete evidence that I know about anyway. So but the side by side.
I mean, it's more than that. It's more than that. Like, put that to the side. Let's take that off the table. Okay, his vehicle was the vehicle parked at the cemetery that was blocked in by all of law enforcement.
Yeah, but it's like a bright orange, isn't it?
It's
do recall.
orange. I'm not exactly sure because it's kind of in the shade. It's like in and out of the shade, so it's hard to tell. But apparently, he showed up really early that day and asked Ron Logan. And it may even have been the day before.
Right.
So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of big question marks about that guy.
I mean, as far as the vehicle goes, that vehicle, personally, in my opinion, would stick out like a sore thumb. Because if I'm not mistaken, it is orange.
And one of the huge rumor mill, one of their best products they ever put out was the whole lost keys thing. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I did. And I heard about that, and I found that interesting.
Yeah, I think that was made. I don't know if that was made in Delphi, but it came right out of the rumor mill, and it kind of puts for that theory. If he was there the day before, what would cause you to lose your keys? I don't know. Were you searching out there in the dark and you lost your keys, or were you fighting with two young girls and you lost your keys?
Yeah. Something else that that I was really wanting to get your opinion on, that I noticed it looking at the picture of BG. Now, this is just my speculation, and several people might not agree. But when I look at the picture, when you look at his left hand, if you look at the angle of his left hand as it comes down, and then you look at his right, his left hand almost appears to me as if it's in his pocket, and his right hand appears to be in a coat pocket, not his jeans. When you look at the angle of the arms coming down.
Here, let me pull something up for you. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it. See, the left arm, when I'm looking at this, left arm appears to be a little lower than the right, in my opinion.
Yeah, his left hand is definitely lower because it appears that his right arm is up in his side of his jacket pocket here.
That's what I was looking at. I got to looking at the arms, and when you look at it, you can see a difference in the height there, in my opinion.
Now you have to be careful because this is all height and proportion here is all an illusion.
Yeah.
So what you're seeing right here is like there's a weird effect going on. You see how it's so much further than over here?
Yeah.
And it's not only because his arm is back, but it's because this shit is all motion blur. Like you
Right.
can almost see how many of them are cascading to the left up
Right.
here. You see that?
Yeah.
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's like a deck of cards. So this bridge guy killer could be much skinnier than what he looks like right here.
That's what I was fixing to tell you. I don't think he's near as heavy set as people think, because you think if he's got a couple coats on and probably a t-shirt, I mean, that could feasibly make him look bigger than he is.
And right here, you can kind of see, this is what it almost looks like here. This is like, let's say his pinky, maybe even has a ring. on his pinky finger, and his index finger is coming across the top of a pistol off the trigger.
Right.
And part of the pistol is kind of coming out right here. And this might even be part of where the magazine is kind of going up in there.
It definitely appears to be bulging out versus the other side.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the other side where your mouse was there, it just kind of looks like it's just a jacket folded down, but it definitely looks on the right side that something is bulging out there.
Yeah, but that may not even be a gun. That could be a long-handled weapon, and this could just be something popping out that's already in his pocket, you know, like his phone.
Right.
And then whatever's going on down here is connected with this. Maybe an axe, a short-handled axe.
Yeah. I mean,
and this could be his weapon over here. This could be his gun, you know, tucked away over here. And this could be like some type of long, sharp-ended weapon.
Yeah. It's awful weird though, like on these pictures of BG, like some pictures like this one right here, he in my mind, he feasibly doesn't look like he would be that heavy set at all, but in a different picture, he looks a lot more heavy set.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of confusing to me, but
I don't think he's heavy set. I think he has somewhat broad shoulders.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure he's wearing whatever he would wear on his on a daily basis. He puts something completely random over the top of that.
Yeah. This kind of looks like the jackets those people wear at that, what is that, a car factory that's out there?
The Subaru?
Yeah.
Well, you got Subaru, you have Chrysler, you have Packers, you have all these huge companies that are around there.
That have blue jackets?
I mean, blue jacket, you can go anywhere and get a blue jacket, though.
Well, I know, I was just talking about places that, as far as work.
I'm not 100% on that.
I knew about the Subaru place, that there was a lot of blue jackets out there. I didn't know about any other place. Which may, like you said, I mean, hell, you can order one off the internet or go to Walmart or probably anywhere and get a blue jacket. But I just thought that was interesting.
And it's kind of weird that there's kind of like a face right here too. You notice that?
Yeah, it does look pretty weird right there.
So it's almost as if let's say you took a Scream mask and you pulled it down off of your face forward, but you still had the string attached.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of dangling under your chin. I wonder if it could be something like that.
What do you think that white thing is? A scarf or something?
I don't know. It could be a mask. It could be his shirt. It could be the inside of his jacket. But I think it most likely is like a bandana.
Yeah. I mean, 52 degrees is unseasonably warm, but it's not hot, you know. I'd kind of personally like to know if the wind was blowing that day.
Somebody mentioned that.
Because here's the thing, even if it's, you know, let's say it's 60 degrees, if the wind is blowing hard, you know, you got to take in it's going to feel colder than what it is. So I've just been curious about that.
Windshield.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, if let's say he didn't pre-plan this, he's definitely dressed as if he was out there earlier that day. But what I'm thinking is, let's say he was just a random person on the trails. People are able to recognize him when he's not in a disguise. So he could have easily went back to his vehicle, put on some random jacket and a weird disguise, you know?
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe I even heard rumors that young teenagers were filming like some type of like a low budget like film or something for a project.
Do you believe he came in from the head of the trails?
I'm not convinced.
I'm not either, because when I really got to looking at this map, I mean, feasibly, there's a few points of access to this trail.
Oh yeah.
I really don't believe it would make sense to go out that way, given what you've just done. You know what I mean? As far as his exit route, I think would be pretty dumb to exit that way. I mean, he might have just walked right back down the trail. I don't know, but I would find that hard to believe.
Yeah, he could have panicked, but he definitely ain't going back on the trail.
Yeah, I don't see him going back there. I mean, I guess it's possible, but I don't foresee that.
Let me take a look here. So, I mean, the official, I guess, or not even the official story, but the consensus is he came in right here.
Right.
And then went back out. But, I mean, he could have easily have parked right here.
Oh, yeah. Or
you can walk across this, you can walk through here, and then let's say you're fishing through here. This is the fisherman theory, bear with me, and then I'll see what you're about to say. You're walking through here, and as you're fishing here, you notice right around here there's somebody, two girls up here, and maybe you're drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe you thought on a Monday that there's no it's obviously that they're alone. You know, is it possible that this killer just made the mistake of thinking that those girls were ditching school? He was away from the trails. He had no idea that there was all these people walking around. He just assumed. And by making that mistake, and all the mistakes that he made, it was like dumb luck.
It's very possible. I think something else I've wondered, the other night, Sleuth, we were talking on the Insomnia Crew, the one you did, we were talking about, him knowing about the sandbar. Well, we also touched on the fact that this was not a very big trail, and somebody could learn this feasibly pretty easily. I wonder if when you're standing on that bridge, of course, I don't know exactly what the water level was that day. When you're standing on that bridge, I've seen in people's videos, you can see down in and see that sandbar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the RTV6 chopper footage.
Right. Which he's probably a lot higher than the bridge, but I'm just wondering if someone's learning this place, it wouldn't be that hard if the clarity of the water was pretty good to see where that sandbar is just from walking across the bridge.
And if the girls took off running, I don't think it would make a difference.
Probably not, because he's got to catch them, right?
Yeah, but to me, the sandbar means two things. Either the killer knew about it and he took them there, convinced them to follow him, or the girls knew about it and that's why they ran in that direction to cross the creek, knowing that it's there.
What do you think about somebody who possibly did their homework on the area? And
yeah, the recon theory.
Yep.
Yeah, that reminds me of like a Jerome, Thomas Jerome Bruce type of killer.
Yeah,
somebody that goes out and scouts the area.
Where on the map is I've heard a lot of people talk about the old railroad track.
Yeah, that's over here.
The theory of someone coming in from the old railroad track.
That's down this way.
Right.
But there's actually old railroad tracks all through here.
Right.
I think even somewhere over here and over here.
Would that person have enough cover after the murders to sideline that creek and come back down to this bridge down here?
What do you mean?
Okay, like where the bodies were found, you come back left and just walk the creek bank and you walk it all the way out to the highway to that other bridge.
This way?
Yeah. Would they have enough cover from the trail coming in
Yeah, I think so.
without getting seen on the creek bank?
But the thing is you can't make it right here.
Oh, you can't go through there?
At some point, you're up right here where the entrance of the bridge is. This is all cliff right here.
Right. So they would have to go to the top and then cross over the trail to do that.
Yeah. So here's the crime scene. If they're walking, they could follow the creek about to right here.
Okay.
And then they got to come up to the entrance.
But they would have to cross that trail, I mean, just for a split second, huh?
Yeah, they would cross. They would have to cross over the bridge. Well, they could even go under the bridge at that point.
That's what I was fixing to ask you.
Yeah, they can go under the bridge and then down to the bottom, or all the way to the next trailhead and then to the bottom, or just blaze a trail somewhere through there.
Something that I noticed about the Evansdale murders in Delphi, they're both relatively close to a decent sized highway. Quick access out of the area.
That's a good target point if you're like from a serial killer standpoint, or let's say Keegan Kline, he's looking for a thrill kill, or somebody connected with Keegan Kline. Keegan Kline could be a tool for a real bad person, you know what I mean? Keegan Kline's the worst of the worst. He's a disgusting person, but I mean, I'm talking about somebody that's smart and dangerous, you know what I mean?
Right.
They got to catch this guy.
Is that a very big area right there at that bridge on the highway? Like
Where over here?
No, scroll down. Isn't that a bridge right there?
Yeah, you can get through here with a quad. I have so many theories of accessing from these neighborhoods, because if you access through these underneath this area, or even if you go further down this way, there's another bridge. So
there's a lot of access, feasibly speaking.
Yeah, especially if let's say your backyard is right here.
Yeah.
And you can just jump on your quad and just idle it out through here. Nobody would know. You could idle all the way through here. Not even come out this way. Just pop out right here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hit the private drive. Cross the Deer Creek on the natural bridge.
Do we know how often this person used this private drive?
Yeah, very often. They were out of town. They're snowbirds. They were in Arizona, and he would stop by from time to time because he worked at Subaru, and he could, he was able to stop by and check on things.
That's interesting. Now, who owns the house? I've heard people say that there's a house that looks down straight into, that could feasibly look down straight into the crime scene.
I believe that's the same person.
Same person, okay.
Yeah, he has a balcony, or they have a balcony. I don't think it's his property. The owner of that home has a balcony that looks right over to the crime scene.
Do you think those people possibly had anything to do with it?
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, I think it's as likely they had something to do with it as Ron Logan.
Right. The Ron Logan thing, man, I think that would be really retarded to just kill somebody on your own property. You
Well,
know,
think about it. What if Ron and whoever owns that property, what if they have like some type of secret relationship we don't even know about? Maybe they're doing some really weird shit back there we have no clue of.
might be why he was so finicky about people being on his property.
Oh yeah. And if you notice, there's been a few cases of that person having altercations with women. Now, think about all the men that have been trespassing on that property. Anthony Greeno, Michael's whole crew, um, just all the random people that just show up and go down there. You never hear of him confronting those guys.
Yeah, that is kind of weird.
My guest today is Brian James.
Yeah, that's me.
They were asking.
Oh, does it not? It just shows the letter B up there, doesn't it?
Let me see.
Yeah.
I wonder if I have control of that. I'm not sure I do or not. So how long you been looking into this?
2 or 3 years. I mean, it's hard to wrap my brain around it sometimes because there's so much, we have so little to go on that it's almost like the realm of possibilities. It's really hard to figure out, to try to point in any one direction, which is why I don't really have a solid theory. You know what I mean? I mean, I have ones that I probably agree with more than others, but as far as just having a hardcore solid theory, that's hard for me to do.
Right now, the theory that I'm stuck on is basically it's a mean teen theory. It involves basically Keegan Kline is a patsy. Somebody knows he's a catfish. Somebody knows that he's communicating with Libby, and they use that, commit the crime, and then leave a trail of breadcrumbs right to Keegan Kline.
Yeah. I guess the only thing that I stick really hard to is the fact that this guy in broad daylight did this, and the reason I think he felt comfortable doing that is because he knew he wouldn't be recognized. That's really the only thing that I'm sticking hard to, I guess.
Well, I've heard investigators who they weren't from Indiana. They were just interviewed about the case, and I guess they were pretty successful as detectives. And they said, a lot of them say they don't believe he's from Delphi. They said if he was, he would have been recognized.
You go out there, I guess it's not impossible because at 14, I didn't know everybody that lived in my town, when I was a kid. But at the same time, it's like, you would take that chance of somebody saying, oh, that's John from the hardware store, or that's, such and such from the supermarket. You know what I mean? That'd be a hell of a chance to take.
And not to mention, both the girls lived right there. They both lived right by the bridge. They didn't live in town. They lived over there by the bridge on the other side of the highway.
So how far feasibly would you say it is from their house to the bridge?
Less than a mile for Abby, and about a little over, I would say maybe just under, maybe 2.5 for Libby.
Do we know how often these girls frequented the bridge?
Libby more frequent, but yeah, often. And Abby had to be a little more hush about her activities, so we really don't know.
So Libby was out there a lot.
Yep.
That's interesting to me.
Her and her sister went out there to geocache. We hear that from her aunt and her cousins and her extended family. They're always hanging out over there. That's like the place to be, apparently.
Huh.
almost kind of reminds me of the stalker theory, because you say that she was out there, Libby was out there a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she could have been out there to meet Anthony Shots, and then there's this completely random stalker there as well, you know.
Maybe somebody that had been out there and seen her before, and because I've heard investigators say some of these serial killers, when they pick a target, they will ignore all logic and go through desperate measures to get to their victim.
Yeah, they get high off it too, and then it being during the day and all that adrenaline, you know, that could be what motivates them as well. Just that aspect making it more dangerous. Maybe the motivation is that adrenaline rush.
You know, somebody who's been very patient and has reached the end of their patience, and like, I know this is a risky thing, but I'm going for it.
Yep.
And I often wondered if Bridge Guy counted vehicles and people. You know what I mean?
Well, he'd have to be at a lot of places at a, you know, in a short amount of time.
Because, you know, a lot of people say, well, why didn't he go back up? You know, why did they cross the creek instead of, well, there's a lot of reasons, and we touched on a few why I believe he wouldn't cross that bridge. Number one, if those girls take off running, I mean, anybody in their right mind is probably not going to take off running, you know, so he takes a chance of losing them there. Plus, you know, you could run right into people coming down the trail, which would blow his whole thing.
Well, it completely blows my mind as to why they crossed where they crossed. And if they had to take off running, it's because something really bad happened, either right at the end, like right when they went down the hill, he could have assaulted them right then and there. Why else would they? It's almost like they were disoriented. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
the correct thing would be run along with the bridge towards public and cross over there where the trail comes down. You know what I mean? To
Right.
public.
Yeah.
Because they all know the Freedom Bridge is where the public is. They're not going to run towards Ron Logan's place. They're going to run not only out to the open where they just came from. They may not be on the bridge at this point, but they're still where they were, under the bridge, where people are, and we know for a fact that people were there. So why were they so disoriented? Why did they go the wrong way? Why did she lose her shoe? I'm thinking the attack started there.
That private drive has always been a major interest to me. I mean, which I know you'd have to cross it if you're going across right there. I mean, there's no way to not, if that's where you're wanting to go across the creek. But man, you talk about a hell of a chance. It's almost like this person knew there would not be any traffic on this private drive. It's almost like they had knowledge of it.
Yep.
I mean,
And that could be anybody. That could be anybody that knows these people.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that goes back to the whole thing. I don't know if they posted anything on Facebook or anything that they were going to be out of town. You know, a lot of police officers told people.
What about on their door? They could have something on their door. Somebody delivering, and it says here, you know, we're snowbirds. We'll be gone from this point of time to this time. Please leave all our packages over here, or something, you know, along those lines. And even if somebody was snooping, let's say snooping around the area, and went, you know, and saw that sign on the house, maybe somebody was just snooping around, you know, after crossing the bridge, and they're like, okay, these people aren't going to be home. Like, we can plan something. We can plan something here.
Yeah, I mean, that, you know, the whole thing was risky. I mean, done in broad daylight and all that, but going across that private drive, I mean, I don't know.
Well,
That's just very
if he had to have lured them there, right? Like, hey, cross the bridge, you know, I'll meet you on the other side.
Yeah. And once they get to the bridge, on the, you know, on the other side of the bridge, he's coming across the bridge. They can't really get past him.
Mm-hmm.
Not safely.
They're like, that's not Anthony Shots, but there's nothing we can do at this point, regardless of who it is. And then when he gets to them, it's at that point they're like, "Oh God, like we're in some serious shit."
The shoe is kind of interesting too. What's your opinion on the shoe?
I just think she was running and it got stuck in the mud and she didn't stop. She didn't even think about it. She's like, "I don't need that shoe. I'm out of here."
I wonder how deep in that mud that shoe was stuck.
They didn't find it the first night. Kelsey didn't find it when she went out there early in the morning, and she didn't find it when she came back. Somebody that was part of her search team found it.
Because we talked about this the other night as well. You know, when somebody has a tied-on tennis shoe, you know, it'd be hard to just run out of your shoe. You know what I mean? It's not a flip-flop. So it would have to almost be stuck in the mud or something.
Yep.
Which would unfortunately cause you to slow down a whole lot if you're running from somebody, and that would be very unfortunate. Another thing that Sleuth that I was looking at the other night, we was looking at the depth of the water. I remember us going over it. There's a part of that right there where those searchers were that appears to be ankle deep, but when you get closer to the bank, it appears to be a little bit deeper there. Like right as you're coming up to get out of the creek on the other side, it appears to be deeper there. Do we have any idea how deep that is? Because if if Libby and Abby were, what'd you say, 5'5"?
Yeah, about 5'5", 5'4".
You know, 3 or 4 feet of water on somebody that's that height is pretty deep, and you wouldn't be able to run near as fast.
Well, that's where they went up, right there.
That's interesting to me. So if you have someone's 5'5" and the water's, let's say 3.5 to 4 feet deep, which it appears to be, I don't know, but it appears to be a lot deeper than in the middle from the video.
They just stepped off of the sandbar.
Right. There's one part of that video that you were showing that the searchers looked like they were ankle deep, and then the other part looked like they were deeper than that. I couldn't tell exactly from the video, but it almost looked like they were close to waist deep. Is that what you found? Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. I had you on mute.
Oh, okay.
I apologize. Yes, to an extent.
Yeah, but it looks a lot deeper than ankle deep to me.
Yeah. It's like knee deep, I would say. Let me see. Let's find out.
Yeah, because remember the other night my screen was frozen. Y'all were watching it. I couldn't watch it.
See, they're about knee deep is what I meant.
And they're towards the middle, right?
They're on it right now.
Okay.
So they're on the sandbar.
Right.
Directly across. No, they're a little bit further downstream than where the girls were found. In between them and another group ahead of them is where the girls were located. But you see how high it is right there, that bank? They went up that.
Yeah. That would be very hard to do with wet feet. You know what I'm saying?
They went right up it, and it almost appears like they tried to and may have gotten pulled down, and there may have been a struggle there in the water, maybe.
I've always thought that.
Yeah, maybe that's where they found the phone. Right there.
Could quite possibly be, if they took off running, that could quite possibly be where Bridge got caught up to them.
Yeah, see right there. Here, let me pause this. You see the?
Right.
Can you see it there?
Yeah, it looks like they're about ankle deep. Yeah.
Can you see the sandbar though?
Yeah, I can see it coming down through there.
Yeah. Can you guys see that? Yeah, that's pretty shallow right there.
Definitely very shallow. There's that leaning.
Yeah, that's where they went up right there. Look at that. There nothing in your right mind would say escape to this area. You're running for your life at this point.
I would have to agree with that, Sleuth. I mean, because you're just running to get away. You don't really have a set. I can't imagine trying to take 2 girls up that bank. I can't imagine trying to get up it myself. I would have hard enough time.
Yeah, it's like what is so bad that nothing is more important than just getting away? Like, what is that bad?
Right. I have lost shoes in the mud, so that would make a lot of sense on why that shoe would have been off.
I've been in that situation my whole life, playing in the mud, running around lakes and fishing, and just being a dirty kid,
Right. Yeah. That's how kids used to grow up.
Yep. Getting crawdads,
We didn't have iPads when we were 7 years old.
No, we had eye patches.
Yep. I won't get on a rant about that, but kids nowadays, they grow up a little bit different.
Well, Brian, final thoughts before we get out of here.
Not a whole lot, man. I just appreciate the live chat, and I hope eventually we can get this solved, get him off the street.
Yeah, you're a very insightful guest. It's a pleasure to have you on. I hope we can do this again.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Have a good one.
All right. See you again soon. Take care. Well, guys, looks like that's going to do it. I want to thank everybody who showed up, participated in the chat. I want to thank our guest. It's always good to have you. I know hopefully we'll see you soon. See you again. But that is all the time I have for tonight. I'll see you guys in Marvin Frank's place later on. So take care. Oh, and most likely Sonny's as well. So you'll catch me at both of those.